Greetings of the day. Welcome to Bhatt and Bhatt Tutorials. I am Sheshadri, faculty for English. This session is for 10th grade ICSE English Literature. We are doing the play by William Shakespeare, Merchant of Venice. We are at the Act 1 and Scene 1. This is the third of the sessions in the same Act 1 and Scene 1. This is the concluding session for Act 1 and Scene 1. If we recall what we did in session number 2, we see that Gratiano, just like Salarino and Salanio, tries to take Antonio out of his sadness. And Gratiano criticizes Antonio that he is deliberately putting on a serious face and trying to mislead others. Whereas we know that actually Antonio, he is not deliberately doing it. He is in fact melancholic. He is in fact sad. Then the next part that comes here is Bassanio confesses to Antonio that he has been very careless in spending money. That is, Bassanio has been very careless in spending money. He has already taken a lot of loan from Antonio, and now he asks for an additional loan from Antonio to pay off his old debts. That is, he is making a new loan to pay an old loan. So then we next see what happens. Because he had promised Antonio that he will tell details about that lady whom he wants to propose to, he is giving the details now. Bassanio says, in Belmont is a lady richly left, and she is fair and fairer than that word of wondrous virtues. Sometimes from her eyes I did receive fair speechless messages. Which means here we already have a clue that Portia also is impressed with Bassanio. We will be seeing it in the next scene also, where name of Bassanio is mentioned. Her name is Portia, nothing undervalued, to Cato's daughter, Brutus's Portia. That is, in the other play, Portia is the name of the daughter of Brutus in Julius Caesar. So he is referring to her name only there. So let's see the English text. There is a lady in Belmont who has inherited some riches and is both beautiful, more beautiful than can be described, and virtuous. We have occasionally exchanged glances. We have occasionally exchanged some knowing glances. Her name is Portia, and she lives up her namesake, Cato's daughter and the wife of Brutus. So, in this scene, the one of the main love themes in this play is between Bassanio and Portia. That is introduced here. He is further explaining, Bassanio is further explaining, nor is the wide world ignorant of our worth, for the four winds blow in from every coast. Renowned suitors and her sunny locks hang on her temples like a golden fleece, which makes her seat of Belmont, Colcho's strand, and many Jasons come in quest of her. Jasons means new suitors, people who are coming in search, would-be husbands, prospective husbands are referred to as Jasons here. Oh my Antonio, had I but the means to hold a rival place with one of them, I have a mind presages me such thrift that I should questionless be fortunate. So here Antonio is telling of his need for funds because he has to go and impress Portia. Now the text in English, her worthiness as a wife is well known, and suitors come to her from all four corners of the world. Four winds means they are referring to north, south, east, and west. Her blonde hair hangs over her temples like the golden fleece, and it makes many a Jason want to come on a quest for her. Like I said, Jason means prospective suitors, prospective bridegrooms who are coming in search of her. And there he says, Antonio, if I only had the means to stand as a rival with these suitors, I know without a doubt that I would be successful in wooing her. Obviously, he needs some funds. He needs to present himself well. Maybe he will need a new wardrobe. He'll need to buy clothes. So that is why he is in need of money. To which Antonio is saying, thou knowest that all my fortunes are at sea. Neither have I money nor commodity to raise a present sum. Now Antonio is presenting his actual situation. Says, you know that all my money has been put into my ships. I have neither money nor any goods to sell in order to raise some funds for you. But what he is, he's still ready to help him. So what he says, therefore, go forth, try what my credit can do. Credit can in Venice do, that shall be racked even to the uttermost, to furnish thee to Belmont, to fair Portia. Go presently enquire, and so will I, where money is, and I no question make to have it of my trust or for my sake. What he is telling is, I have no money, but you please go ahead, go to Venice, find out who will lend us money. You can borrow the money on my guarantee, or I will put my name as a surety for this. So the question of his guarantee, the question of his bond is what is shown here. The English text is, so go forth and see how far my credit will get you in Venice. Obviously, Antonio is a very prosperous shipping businessman. So definitely his name will carry a lot of worth. His name will carry a lot of value. All of which I will use to get you to Belmont and to beautiful Portia. Go around to find somewhere you can borrow some money, and so will I. I am certain that people will lend me the money either for my own sake or for the sake of my business. So he is ready to finance Bassanio's love affair, and he says, you can use my name, and I will stand guarantee you will borrow money. With this, we come to the end of Act 1, Scene 1. Let us now further see, if you look at the analysis of how this scene 1 has been presented. The first task confronting any playwright in his opening scene is his exposition of that play. That is, he must identify the characters and explain their situation to the audience. Shakespeare accomplishes this task of informative exposition very subtly in the opening 56 lines of the dialogue between Antonio, Salarino and Celanio, wherein the sad mood of Antonio is brought out. We learn that Antonio is a wealthy merchant, that he is worried for some obscure reason which makes him melancholic, that he is a member of a group of friends who arrive later, Bassanio, Lorenzo and Gratiano, who represent the lively convivial life of Venice. So there are two sets of people here. We have Salarino and Celanio coming once, and then you have Bassanio, Lorenzo and Gratiano coming up in the second part of the scene. And perhaps the most important for the purposes of the plot, we are told that Antonio has many shipping ventures, mercantile risks, and although he is not worried about them now, the idea is subtly suggested to us that his business ventures on the high seas may miscarry. It is a high risk business because again lack of navigational aids in those days. We should recall this matter when Antonio finally decides to indebt himself to Shylock on Bassanio's behalf, which happens in the later part of the play. In this opening scene, Shakespeare begins to sketch in some of the characters and some of the atmosphere of the play. Antonio, for example, is presented as being sad, afflicted with a melancholy which he himself does not appear to understand. In fact, in this whole play, his character remains like this. He remains in this melancholic mood itself throughout the play. Critics have puzzled over this. Is Antonio to be viewed as a normally melancholy character? Is his sadness caused by his knowledge that he may shortly lose the companionship of his old friend Bassanio, who has told him of embarking on a secret pilgrimage to woo a beautiful and wealthy woman in Belmont? These are again questions which critics have got. Is it because he will lose Bassanio? Because once Bassanio gets married, he will not have his friend with him. Or is his mood to be put down simply to an ominous foreboding which he has of some approaching disaster? There is every chance that the ships will sink. So maybe somewhere deep down in his heart, he may have that fear. For all dramatic purposes in this scene, Antonio's gravity serves foremost as a contrast to the lightheartedness of his friends. Salarino, Celanio, Bassanio, Gratiano, all of them are light-hearted and they are merry people. Despite its dark and threatening moments, one should always remember that The Merchant of Venice is a romantic comedy, and like most of Shakespeare's romantic comedies, it has a group of dashing, if not very profound, young men. For example, Salarino and Celarino are not terribly important. Their lines are interchangeable and they are not really distinguishable from one another. They represent an element of youthful whimsy. Compared to Celanio and Celarino, we have Bassanio and Lorenzo who are more important in this whole plot. That is what they mean here. Salarino begins typically with a flight of fancy in which Antonio's ships are described as rich burghers on the flood. Obviously, his ships are larger compared to the trading vessels. That is what he means by that. And like birds flying with their woven wings, those sails those days were made of canvas, which were woven. That is what he says of birds flying with their woven wings. He continues to delightfully fantasize series of imaginings on the stage. Of course, all this would be accompanied with exaggerated gestures intended to bring Antonio out of his depression. So as a friend, they are trying to do this to Antonio. This same note of gentle raillery is carried on when we see the entrance of three more young courtiers, Bassanio, Gratiano and Lorenzo. Again, Antonio's mood is remarked on. Here again, Shakespeare is using Antonio as a foil for the spirited byplay of the others. Like he says, I will play the fool, like Gratiano says. Thus, through the presentation on the stage of the sober, withdrawn Antonio, surrounded by the frolicsome language and whimsy of the two young gallants, Shakespeare suggests in compressed form two of the elements of the play. The real danger that the Merchant of Venice will face and the world of youth and laughter, which will be the background to the love stories of Bassanio and Portia, Lorenzo and Jessica, Gratiano and Nerissa. These are the three love stories here. The main being Bassanio and Portia. Nerissa is the maid of Portia. So again, Gratiano and Nerissa, Jessica is the daughter of Shylock who runs away with Lorenzo. These are the three main romantic elements in this play. Gratiano especially is ebullient and talkative, yet he is quite aware of his effervescence. He announces that he will play the fool. When Antonio says, I have a sad part in the world stage, he says, I will play the comedian. Gratiano talks. Bassanio tells Antonio of nothing more than any man in all of Venice, and his willing accomplice is Lorenzo. Significantly, both of these characters are more distinctly drawn than Salanio or Salarino, and they will play more major roles in the development of the romantic plot and subplot of the play. Gratiano with Nerissa and Lorenzo with Jessica. They are definitely, Gratiano and Lorenzo are more important than Salanio and Salarino. Also, one of the purposes of this opening scene is to introduce Bassanio and his courtship of Portia, which will constitute the major romantic plot and also set the bond story in motion, on which Antonio agrees for a guarantee, for a loan which Bassanio will take, but the guarantor will be Antonio. Antonio's question concerning Bassanio's courtship of Portia is turned aside by Bassanio. He goes directly to the question of money in order that the basis for the bond story can be laid. So when Antonio is asking him, he first tells of all the old loans that are there, and only then he comes up with description of Portia. Some critics have seen in Bassanio's speeches some evidence of a character who is extremely careless of his money and very casual about his obligations. He seems furthermore to have no scruples about making more requisitions of a friend who has already done much for him. He is a nobleman of the old times, but he is a person who is not at all careful with his money. So that is very clear in Bassanio's character. Yet Shakespeare does not intend us to level any harsh moral judgments at Bassanio. According to the Venetian view, Bassanio is behaving as any young man of his stature might be expected to behave. He is young, he is in love, and he is broke. He doesn't have money. But he is in love. That is the most important part here. The matter is simple. Antonio's immediate reassurance to his old friends reminds us of the strong bond of friendship between the two men. And interestingly, neither of them seems to be unduly concerned about money at this point. Both Antonio and Bassanio. One is a wealthy merchant and the other is a carefree young lover. This is a quality which we shall notice throughout the play in connection with both Bassanio and Portia. Even with Portia, she also doesn't regard money as the end. It is only a means to an end to her. Both of them recognize the necessity of money, but neither of them considers money to be of any value in itself. In their world of romantic love and civilized cultivation, they feel that they don't need to be unduly concerned with money. One, Bassanio is a nobleman, and Portia she is rich because of inheritance. She is born rich. Shakespeare is setting up this point of view to contrast later with Shylock's diametrically, in fact, opposite point of view. For Shylock, the moneylender, money constitutes his only defense against his oppressors. Obviously, he is a very shrewd businessman and is very ruthless when it comes to taking interest for the money that he lends. Considering again Bassanio's problem with money and Antonio's reaction to it, note that Bassanio is straightforward in this scene with Antonio. Obviously, he doesn't lie and he confesses and he is very serious that he wants to even repay the money. His request is made in pure innocence and we take it at its face value. Those critics who decry Bassanio read more into his frank confession of poverty and his attempt to borrow money than is really there. Means he is very honest about it. He says, I have already overspent, but I still need more money so that I can even repay the old debt. We must recall that when Shakespeare wants to make us aware of some defect in one of his characters, he is always able to do so. The absolute and unconditional friendship between Antonio and Bassanio is one of the assumptions of the play, and we must never question it. Even as we go further, we will see he is even prepared to give his life for Bassanio's goodwill. This brings us to the end of Act 1, Scene 1. Any doubts, you can contact us at these numbers, or you can send a message in Bhatt and Bhatt Tutorials mobile app chat section. Thank you.